You have a prepaid call. You will not be charged for this call. This call is from
Matt Hoffman.
an inmate at Washington State Penitentiary. This call will be recorded and monitored. If you wish to block any future calls of this nature, dial 7 now. To accept this call, press 5 now. To decline this call, hang up. Thank you.
Merry Christmas, ho, ho, ho.
Hey, Merry Christmas to you, man. I'm glad you called. You won't believe what I'm doing. I am on chapter 7, page 52 of Elmer's Tribal War, and I am reading through this book. And, as I'm reading it, I can't help but think that you might have your own, your own book that you would like to write, and maybe you have your own ideas of how this thing should be written. But anyway, I just want to let you know I am in the middle of reading the book.
Very good, very good. I just called to check with you to see if you had gotten the email stuff that Agnes had sent to you, and to wish you folks a Merry Christmas and a joyous and bright New Year.
Yeah, well, thank you. I wish you a Merry Christmas too, and you a Merry New Year. And man, I just can't help but think about you and your father and this whole situation, and you being in prison 32 years. I just, I really, really hope you get out of there. Hope you get out of there soon, man.
Well, God works in mysterious ways, and I don't know the fullness of it. I'm mad at him a lot because I shouldn't be here, but that's the way it is.
Yeah.
I can't change it, so I try to.
Yeah, I understand, man.
Been suffering a lot with mouth pain and trying to get through from there to here and here to there and everything. I'm working 3 jobs as a recreation assistant for music, and a recreation assistant for beadwork, and a recreation assistant for artwork, and it's been 90 days now, and I still haven't got my first paycheck. So that's the DOC for you.
You know what it sounds like? It sounds like legalized slavery is what it sounds like to me.
Well, I've been thinking this over quite a bit, and there's a lawsuit coming against the Department of Corrections in the state of Washington and the U.S. government for slavery on a new level.
Yeah.
Misappropriation of the Emancipation Proclamation and a whole bunch of other things.
Yeah, I don't doubt it for a second. I don't doubt it for a second. Hey, while I got you on the phone, do you plan on at some point, and again, I haven't read the whole book, I'm only up to page 52, but do you plan on some point on writing your perspective on things? Because I know we had a previous conversation, and you felt he had got some things wrong, and you were there, so I would certainly trust your perspective of things more so than Mr. Allenbaugh. And I didn't know if Yep. I'm sorry.
There's a law on the books here in the state of Washington that I can't write a book about it and receive money from it for compensation for a crime.
Right. I understand that, and I've heard of similar prisoners that they can't write a book about their crime. But have you thought about writing like corrections to his book, or if he got something wrong? Because the chapter I just finished reading right before you called was the supposed shootout between you and your dad, and I think it was John Dick and Lou Millard.
Yeah.
So I didn't know if you wanted to provide corrections on that, or if you're going to, anyway, it just seems kind of weird that this man would write a book and have such details and you not to have an opinion about it, So.
Well, I already sent a letter to Agnes 3 weeks ago, and she had added to it the time and law affidavit about sitting there and watching the whole shootout from start to finish, which supports Sheila Cleveland's testimony in court.
Got it.
And also it shows that there was a corrupt uh, corrupt conspiracy to cover this up by the police officers and by the tribal chairman, who was Melton Ascot at the time, to gain money from the U.S. government and to keep themselves out of prison, because they had brutalized with police brutality Elmer on a false arrest. The arrest warrant set for failure to appear for trespass lands hearing, and it was 6 days in the future.
Yeah,
so
right.
That's invalid, and that's where everything stems from, and that's fruit of the poisonous tree doctrine. And the state of Washington Supreme Court refused that, saying that was a valid search warrant or valid warrant on them.
Got it.
And that being deputized in the Ferry County and deputized in Okanagan County and having federal Bureau of Indian Affairs deputized and agents and things like that they could do what they wanted and go where they wanted, and didn't have to knock and announce, didn't have to state their intentions at 2:30 in the morning. It's all cover up.
Yeah.
They were paid, and on top of that, then when it came to the appeal process was denial by deferment to the next higher court level, so that they couldn't put down in words why they were not able to come up with a decision on the matter, and still receive their pay without sticking their neck out.
Yeah. Well, the book does make it clear. The book does make it clear that your father was totally against the corruption, and that he felt that the council, the Indian Council, was being paid, under the table, and that they were being paid off so that, I guess, the federal government could mine their land and take a bunch of gold ore and other minerals. So,
Well, the Colbell.
Yeah.
The Colbell Agreement addresses some of Dad's issues about land being scarfed up by real estate agents outside the government and things like that, and Boise Cascade Corporation coming in on the land and telling the people that they'll buy the timber, but only if they sell the land also.
Yeah.
And there was lots and lots of people that fell for that, and could have made more money by doing the logging themselves and stuff, but they didn't care to. All they wanted, they could see the dollar signs in their eyes, and they knew that the whiskey truck was just around the corner someplace, and that's where they wanted to go.
Yeah.
We've got. There's a thing showed up in the tribal paper here 2 weeks ago about a Wenatchee raid by whites on Wenatchee people that killed 1,000 people.
Mm.
And up in the Chesaw and Icicle Creek and their Methow Valley. There's unmarked graves that are buried all along the Methow River there, up the way a little bit, and people are wondering now who was buried there. Well, we know because it's been passed down through our generations by word of mouth, and they just also had something about something in Tennessee about blacks being killed in racial genocide there over supposedly two blacks had supposedly raped a white woman there, and so the white population went down to the black neighborhood and killed 350 people, burned their houses and everything, and they're just discovering that now.
When did this? Do they know? You know when this occurred?
This occurred around 1921, 22, somewhere in there.
Oh, okay.
There was a movie on it about 10 years ago, and it went for a very short time and then got cut out.
Yeah.
This is telling about the white power mentality that's infiltrated throughout our government system, and it's prevalent in the FBI and CIA, and it's there, and they want to remain hid, but they want to do things that provoke the white mentality and put it forward without saying so or pledging allegiance to it by word of mouth.
You know,
So,
you're not the you're not the first prisoner to tell me about this sort of thing. I got another prisoner named David Hinkson, and he also says that there's guards that are really into that sort of thing. And you know, also this book mentions the Nez Perce Indian tribe, and I've got a friend who's very familiar and advocates for the Nez Perce Indians, and I guess they were really screwed over when it came to they were granted a certain amount of land, and their land was just methodically taken away, and now they have just a small portion of what they were originally granted in their treaty.
Yes.
So
Yes, Slapaway was supposed to be the outside portion of the Nez Perce reservation in Idaho and Oregon around the Grand Round River and stuff was supposed to butt up against the Salish reservation here at Walla Walla, where it started out here. And that all got pushed aside. I still say that Walt Whitman and them were killed by white people because they were advocating putting Native Americans into the church there, and the white mentality that was there, especially the soldiers, could not see that, could not have that. That was blasphemy. So Chief Joseph went on the warpath, but it was a different type of war, and his brother, who is also known as Indian George, who is also known as Looking Glass, the medicine man that followed him through that, is one of my ancestors that was married to the mother of my grandmother, Armstrong, Margaret Armstrong.
yeah. You know, I was reading about that. That's in the very first chapter. In May of 1877, Chief Joseph and the rebellious bands and tribes were forced out of the Walla Walla area by federal troops led by General Otis Howard. And it talks about Chief Joseph and Whitebird, accompanied by their bands. I guess there was a lot of warriors, and some of those warriors even ended up, going to help fight with another Indian tribe at some point. What do you think about Chief Joseph? Do you think he was a warrior, or do you think he was he accommodated or tried to make peace by compromising?
Chief Joseph tried to get his people into Canada, where they wouldn't be bothered by the white soldiers.
Yeah.
And he almost accomplished that. And in the process, the last stage, they got caught up in the battle. There's a place over here called Steptoe Butte, where the cavalry had them surrounded, and the Indians had the high ground, and they were able to sneak away in the middle of the night. But there was lots of war, but the natives took lots of lives there. They put a lot of the soldiers in the ground.
Yeah.
And the General Crook and them would not go for that. Crook was the one that helped gather up Geronimo. And then later, him and Sherman, General Sherman was under Ulysses Grant in the Civil War, and when Grant became president, Sherman, who did the March to the Sea in Alabama and burned Alabama and everything in the way to the sea there, came up to Washington, and there's a creek and a pass named after him, Sherman Creek and Sherman Pass in Ferry County, because they pushed the natives all the way from Walla Walla here, all the way up there, and took away all of that land without any justification other than Ulysses S. Grant saying to him, see to it that the Indians are moved across the river because we got to have a place so the white settlers can have.
Yeah, interesting.
And that's what. Yeah. We've suffered that genocide time and time again, and this is part of it.
Yeah.
Me and Elmer are part of it because we're the last ones in the line that they thought to have the hereditary leadership.
Did I hear you earlier say that you have bloodline lineage to Chief Joseph? Is that what I heard?
Well, Chief Joseph would be my great uncle in that.
Wow. They call him. They call him.
Never knew it.
Yeah, they call him the Red Napoleon, and actually, it said that 200 members of his warriors went and joined Chief Sitting Bull. So it's like that's pretty serious stuff. Yeah. But anyway, you were saying something. I interrupted you.
Well, Chief Joseph was a dreamer, and in that I mean that he believed in a new religion called the Shaker Church, which was an offshoot of the Quaker Church.
Oh no!
And
okay.
they had ceremonies similar to that, but instead of things like in the Catholic Church, when the priest holds up the host for everybody to see, and the altar boy shakes the bell so that the bells sound for everybody to look. That was the thing with the Shaker Church. Only they used a school bell.
I got it.
As a bell. And it was about notifying all the people that the Holy Spirit was present.
Yeah.
So
is that kind of like Pentecostals? When you say Shaker Church, I kind of think Pentecostal.
Somewhat, yes. We have those that believe in the power of healing by laying on of hands and speaking in tongues and things like that. I'm not too keen on the speaking in tongues with the translator and stuff like that. I believe that Grandfather, if he wants us to know his word, he will have somebody say it without an interpreter, and if there's somebody that's interpreting that, then they make sure that what is being said is true in their hearing also. That's, I don't know.
Okay.
I have some problems with that.
Okay. Interesting.
I believe that it's possible because through God all things are possible. But let's do it real. Let's do the things that are necessary first. Let's get the innocent out of prison.
Amen. Amen.
You have 60 seconds remaining.
Let's keep the orphans from dying, and let's keep the widows fed so that their children are fed, and things like that.
Amen. Well, that's amen. Amen. That's how he's going to separate the sheep and the goats. Matthew chapter 24. But hey, Merry Christmas. Merry Christmas. We're running out of time. I'll let you have the last word.
Merry Christmas.
Yeah.
If you get a chance, send my son Robert an email and tell him that I tried to call him again tonight.
Okay.
If that's possible.
You bet.
You have his address?
I have his email address. Yes.
I have 30 seconds remaining.
I have his email address. I'll send him an email.
Bless you. love and respects to you and your wife and your mama.
Thank
Hope
you.
she's doing better.
She is, and God bless you, Patrick. And I hope this
Yes.
book results in more awareness about your situation, and I hope that it results in your freedom.
Well, you should have stuff coming from Agnes now
Okay.
that support that.
Okay.
It's either in email or in mail form.